Greetings, viewers, and welcome to today's info sharing session. We will be covering the feature of additional charges in Sage 200 Evolution. Now, additional charges really are charges that would appear on a transaction when selling goods to customers. These could include things like, for example, a handling fee, a delivery charge, a courier fee, etc. And the setup of additional charge really is a two-stage process. Firstly, we need to go to Customers, Maintenance, Additional Charges. At this point, we're going to go set up the various additional charges that may form part of the transactions process to customers. So I'm going to go to Add option. And for example, I can maybe say, for example, a handling fee. Make sure to give it a code and set the additional charge to be active, and then specify a description for it. Next, we're going to specify a general ledger account. So I've got an account called Sundry Transport that I've set up specifically for these types of transactions. And the additional charge can be based on two platforms, either an amount, which means it's a set amount on each transaction, or else based on a percentage, meaning a percentage of the transaction value. So for example, I'm going to use the amount feature. I'm going to say, for example, and either set that amount to be inclusive or exclusive, and select the relevant text type. Right, so there I've got my handling fee. It's linked to my ledger account. It's based on an amount. I've specified the amount, and I'm going to save this additional charge. I'm then going to go create a new additional charge, which, for example, could be a transport charge. And this is now going to be based on a percentage. So give it a description. And once again, specify my GL account. And this time as a percentage. So I'm going to make it, for example, 5% and exclusive basis. So what I have here is I've got a transport charge as a percentage. It's going to be 5% of the total transaction value on that document. Right, so I'm going to save those two options, and obviously you could obviously go create the different additional charges that would be used within your organization. The next step is going to be, I'm going to go through to maintenance, and I'm going to go through to additional charge settings. And at this point, I'm now going to link those charges to different document categories or different document types. So under the inventory option, we can link these charges to invoices, credit notes, and excess invoices. And I'm going to specify, I'll select the code. There's my handling fee. And I can set the additional charge to be a default, which means that it's going to come up on every transaction. And furthermore, I can make it a false, which means is that I need to insert the relevant information about the charge on every transaction. It's a false value on each transaction. And I'm simply going to say add row, and I'm then going to add my transport charge, set that to be a default value, and I'll then link them to an invoice transaction. On the order entry side, I can link these charges to a sales order. And on point of sale, I can link them to sales transactions as well as returns. On the retail point of sale side, I can link them to retail dockets as well as excess dockets. So currently under inventory, I'm going to be using those charges under invoices. Right, save those options. And if we then go process an invoice, we'll see how the implication of those additional charges. So under transactions, I'm going to go to invoice and specify the customer. And you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, I've got a section for additional charges. So I'm simply going to go and specify the items that are to be sold on my document. And there we go. Right, so immediately you can see that there's been a calculation based on additional charges linked to invoices. And if I go into that particular section, you'll see that I've got a breakdown of those charges. So in this instance, it's the handling fee. It's an amount of 40. And there's our value together with our invoice inclusive value for that charge. On the transport charge, it's linked to a percentage, in this case being 5%, and therefore being 5% of the total transaction value. On the bottom section, I've got invoice totals, which are without the additional charges. I've then got the portion for the additional charge totals, and then invoice totals being the normal charges for the goods being sold, plus the charge totals, giving me a net value or a total value for that document. So there we go. Once again, a breakdown of the additional charges with their values and the total value of the invoice, which includes additional charges. Right, so I can close that section, and I'm going to now process the transaction. And you'll see that when printing the document, that we then have the section for the goods being sold with their information. And at the bottom, we've got an additional section. We've got details about the additional charges broken down with their values, etc. On the footer of the document, we've got the total of the document with additional charges total broken down by those various values. So as you can see, you are able to set up additional charges, link them to specific documents within different modules, and then when processing the transaction, have the ability to specify the additional charges on that transaction. So as you can see, it really is a way that you can, for example, add charges onto documents depending on the type of transaction being processed, and then display the information and print the invoice after the invoice has been processed. I do hope this feature has been useful. Thank you for tuning in. It's over and out for me, and goodbye.